Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Time. I'm your host Thomas, coming to you live once again for another installment of the Napa Valley Sub-Appellation series. And today I'm filming live on location in a very beautiful old vine Cabernet vineyard right in the heart of the Rutherford AVA. And Rutherford is one of the most renowned and one of the most historical sub-districts of Napa Valley. Going way back in time to the early 1800s, guy by the name of George Yount, who established Yountville in the 1830s. He was granted about 12,000 acres of land in the upper Napa Valley. And he had three granddaughters, one of which got married to a guy in 1864 named Thomas Rutherford. And upon getting married, Mr. Yount granted them about 1,000 acres of land here in what would eventually become the Rutherford Appellation. And Thomas Rutherford planted the first vines here in Rutherford. Moving forward, in 1879, the first bonded winery was bonded, and it was the property that I'm standing on right now, which is the Inglenook Estate, and Gustave Niebaum established that estate. In 1900, Georges de la Tour, the Frenchman, came up here to the Napa Valley, and he bought a property and he named it Beaulieu, which meant beautiful. And him and his wife established Beaulieu Vineyards, which was one of the wineries that made it all the way through Prohibition by making Sacramento wines, and they stayed open. So they're actually the longest contiguous bonded winery here in Rutherford. Very, very historic appellation. Now, it's about 6,800 acres total, and about 4,300 of those acres are planted to vines, so it's pretty densely planted. Most of Rutherford is valley floor, and it's actually the widest part of the upper Napa Valley, and that means it gets a lot of sunshine. There's not a lot of shade in Rutherford, and the growing climate here is nice and warm with a big diurnal shift at night, cooling down the vineyards here in Rutherford. And it's just a really beautiful, sweet spot for Cabernet Sauvignon. About 66% of the appellation is planted to Cabernet Sauvignon. Of course, there's Merlot planted here and the rest of the Bordeaux varieties. A lot of Sauvignon Blanc growing here, mostly closer to the Napa River, where the soils are a little bit more sandy. The soil structure throughout Rutherford is mostly gravel and loam and alluvial soils, very well drained. A little bit of volcanic matter and oceanic matter here as well. But truly one of the most iconic appellations in all of Napa Valley. There's about 48 wineries here right now in operation, a lot more growers, and it's home to not only BV and Inglenook, but it's home to Quintessa, to Alpha Omega, to Flora Springs, Sequoia Grove, Peju, Foley Johnson, Honig, Camus, just a plethora of really well-known and very established, beautiful wineries here in Rutherford. If you get out here to Rutherford and you want something to dine in here in Rutherford, the classic Rutherford Grill is here to enjoy. And it's just a great place to visit, guys. You can't come to Napa Valley and miss out on Rutherford. It's just such an iconic place. Lots of famous vineyards here, from the Morasoli vineyard, from the Beckstoffer Georges III vineyard, and it's got a lot of history. So thank you so much again for joining me for the Sub-Appellation series, for subscribing to the channel, for liking my videos and commenting. Guys, if you have any questions about Napa Valley or you want to come here on a trip, leave comments below and I can give you suggestions about where to visit and some of my favorite wineries. And just thanks again for joining the channel. Cheers. Hey everyone, just a small appendage to that video, a few things that I left out. I didn't really talk too much about the wines. The wines of Rutherford, guys, are absolutely scintillating. Beautiful Cabernets and amazing Sauvignon Blanc as well. The Cabernets, I would say, are soft and silky, have good richness, have good ripeness and balance. They have this like cocoa powder, cracked peppercorn essence that a lot of people refer to as Rutherford dust. They're very distinctive and very beautiful Cabernets. On the winery side, I failed to mention some of my favorite properties over in Rutherford. Saint-Supri, which is home of my favorite Sauvignon Blanc, their Dollarhide Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc. I didn't mention Provenance, which makes excellent wine in Rutherford. Frog's Leap, Raymond, Sullivan Estate. There's so many of them. The Terraces. I'll leave a list below in the comments of my top 10 favorite wineries to visit while in Rutherford, so you guys can get an idea of what that's all about. Also, I failed to mention the great Andre Telesheff, one of Napa Valley's most iconic and important winemakers. He was the longest serving winemaker at Beaulieu Vineyards, took the winemaking program all the way through Prohibition times, all the way up through the reestablishment of Napa Valley and phylloxera, and even through the kind of early 90s where the refinement period in Napa came about, making ultra luxury Cabernets. Can't talk about Napa Valley winemakers or winemaking without mentioning the great Andre Telesheff. This guy brought forth like cold fermentation techniques and controlled malolactic fermentation. I mean, totally iconic. Anyways, thank you guys. Thanks for joining again.